I will be quoting from the liner notes of 1978's MIU album. It looks like rain, and it's been coming on for hours. It looks like rain. I hear the rumble of thunder showers. Pretty soon the rain will play its sweet refrain while we listen from inside. And until it stops, we'll hear the drips and drops from beside the fireside. So let it rain. Well, usually I would say let it rain, but when it comes to Beach Boys concerts, not a fan. Let's take a look at my recent experience. Hello my friends, and welcome back again. Every year I try to go to at least one Beach Boys concert, and I like to review it for you. The songs that were performed, how the venue and audience were, all kinds of things like that. It's a lot of fun to talk about, and I always like to hear your concert experiences in the comments below. Now the big Beach Boys concert event for this year will be Al Jardine and David Marks playing together in upstate New York later this summer. Definitely going to go see that, anticipating a really big show. But I had the opportunity to go see the Beach Boys, Mike and Bruce in this case, at a fairly local venue, about a 3-hour drive for me, and I thought, well, it was worth a try, mostly because it was promoted as a Club Kokomo show. You might remember I went to Club Kokomo last year. I have a whole video on it. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. So I bought a concert ticket, I bought a Club Kokomo pass, and I was counting down till May 30th when I could go to Farmington, Pennsylvania and see the Beach Boys live and do the Club Kokomo cocktail party. Now, there was a slight sign of a bad omen just a couple weeks after I bought the ticket when I got an email from Mike Love's company, Melico or MikeLove.com, stating that all the Club Kokomo shows were canceled and money would be refunded. And indeed, when I checked his booking website there for if you want to buy a Club Kokomo pass, there were no more being offered. They were all completely removed. Not just the concert I was going to go to, but every single one. So something must have happened behind the scenes. So there is no more Club Kokomo, at least for this year. That was pretty disappointing too, because it was a lot of fun. The cocktails are very good, and I'm showing some of the various goodies they gave you if you bought the pass, and that was a real shame. But the concert ticket, of course, was still valid. It just wasn't a backstage pass. But that really should have been something of an omen for what was coming and should have made me stop and think, oh geez, is this going to be worth it to drive all this way for a show that might not work out? Because as it was drawing closer and closer, I started checking the weather more and more, and Timber Rock Amphitheater in Farmington, out in the middle of the country there, a beautiful place, very mountainous, a lot of scenery to see, but it's an outdoor amphitheater, and their website claims all events go on, rain or shine, but even if it is raining, pack your umbrella, wear a hat. So I wore my Beach Boys beanie hat to keep my head warm, that kind of thing, but be prepared just in case. And it was such a crappy day. Took the day off work, drove around, visited a few places on the way in, and then we get to Farmington. Before we jump into the actual concert experience, if you can call it that, let me just show you a picture of the venue so you kind of sort of know where I'm coming from. So when I got to the amphitheater, it had rained most of the day, but it was only just sprinkling at the time. It wasn't really a big deal. It would have been annoying to sit through an outdoor concert with, sprinkling rain, but not impossible to do by any means. And I got there pretty early, got a good parking spot near the entrance, sat around for a while, looked around some, and then we could finally line up. Now as we were lining up to get our tickets scanned and walk in, it started to rain harder and harder. And then the wind started to pick up too. It wasn't like a thunderstorm, but it was very windy, and you could tell it was going to get colder and rainier the longer things went on. But all the employees at the venue, who were very, very nice, all insisted, shows are rain or shine, people are here, they paid for their tickets, some of them paid for like the bar pass and the pavilions, things like that. Now I was seated up front on the chairs kind of near the stage, and as I sat down I could see the huge tarpaulins that they hang on either side of the stage to protect all their equipment were whipping around in the wind, and pretty soon one of them broke loose and it tore off some kind of little conduit or some kind of little tube that had wiring in it, and that was flailing around, and a bunch of roadies and stage crew people rushed on to repair it. Again, kind of a bad omen. If the protective equipment, or not equipment really, but the protective coverings to keep all the equipment safe are snapping off in the wind, that's going to be a problem. But I let it go. I sat there, still kind of getting rained on. Luckily I brought some cloths to kind of wipe off my chair so I wasn't sitting in a big puddle of water. But the weather kept getting worse and worse, but again, people were filing in, getting situated for the show. And then the things on stage, like the fake plants that the Beach Boys take with them, they're sort of like crosses between palm trees and ferns, the fiberglass surfboards that they take as stage decoration, those things started to get blown over and fly around the stage. So people rushed on to take all that stuff off. Now the instruments were on stage, all the sound stuff was on stage, but they were all covered up by plastic sheets and tarps and things like that. So they were basically protected, but as the wind kept picking up, more and more moisture and rain started going in there. And I could tell they were a little bit worried about what might get damaged by this sudden influx. And people started asking the employees, hey, is this going to be postponed or canceled? Or they kept saying, no, show's going to go on, that's the plan anyway. Well, the wind started picking up more and more. And pretty soon everything on stage started getting blown around and kind of jostled around. And then a man came on, who was one of the people who worked there doing like the stage crew stuff, came on the microphone and the intercom and said, please evacuate to shelter, either one of the pavilions or the building that has the restrooms and the gift shop, things like that. So we all went up there. I went to one of the pavilions, which wasn't smart because the wind and the rain can still get in there as they're all open. But things weren't looking very good, and I started to notice some of the Beach Boys roadies that I recognized from other shows coming out and packing things up. And people were getting pretty antsy and nervous, and the staff kept saying they didn't know anything, no one had told them anything. And pretty soon as we watched them pack up, someone checked their phone, apparently checked the amphitheater's website, and said, show's been postponed. And then we were told that, it was time for us to leave, the show wasn't going to go on. So, do I wish they could have told us earlier? Absolutely, and saved me a trip. At the same time, I get why they canceled it, I'm not mad. Staff there was super duper friendly. Other than the people who were guiding cars out of the parking lot, they didn't do a very good job. Everyone else did a really nice job, because I guess with everyone leaving at once, there was so much chaos. And yeah, it was a crappy day, and talk about a bummer for a concert there too. So I'm hoping when I go see Al and David in July that it will be a better experience than this certainly was. Now the concert was rescheduled for Father's Day. I have not made up my mind yet if I should go again, take that long drive, or if I should ask for the refund. I'm going to think more about that. Sadly, it looks like Club Kokomo is not available for the rest of this year. I should also mention that the email stated it was canceled due to circumstances beyond their control. So there we go. Who knows what the story with Club Kokomo is. Now one thing I always do at Beach Boys concerts, of course, is buy merchandise, and even though it was canceled on account of the rain, still got a chance to go in and buy some merch. And luckily the gift shop was set up indoors. They had a special area where vendors could come and set up. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I had to buy some shirts anyway. Got a nice surfing safari one there. I don't remember if they had this one last year or not, but I do really like this one. I wish I'd had this when I went to Paradise Cove, and I could have matched. But that was pretty nice. And then I got one for the tour for this year, Sounds of Summer, Tour 2025. On the back it has the Farmington date. I figure I could wear this and show people, hey, let me tell you about that Farmington concert, because I was there. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen when it was supposed to. But I do like this shirt though. I always like ones that have a front and a back. Not all the Beach Boys shirts do. If you watch my video on my Beach Boys shirt collection. Speaking of clothing, one place I had stopped on my way down to Farmington, PA was I stopped off at a Target. I wanted to look for some card games. I love to play cards. And they actually had a Beach Boys tank top. And this matches some of the designs that they've used previously, their America's Band logo. I actually have the t-shirt that kind of corresponds with this. And usually I can't squeeze into a small, but sometimes I can. They only had small and I think like XXX, something like that. So usually I wear between medium and large, but sometimes I can squeeze into a small. So I bought this, and I guess unless I want to look like I'm wearing a crop top, it's not going to work too well. So this might be more of a display item I hang up on one of my Beach Boys walls or something, because there's no way I'm going to walk around with my belly button hanging out. Nobody wants to see that. But I never knew Target to have Beach Boys merchandise, besides of course albums and things, excuse me. So that was kind of cool. And while I was at the concert, I also of course bought the Beach Boys water bottle. Pretty cool there. Endless Summer Gold. I'm surprised it doesn't say Endless Summer Cold. It keeps your beverages nice and cold. Tell you what, If I had filled this up with some brandy or something going into that show, I could have sat there and waited for a very, very long time. That kept me nice and warm as all the rain was coming down. Wouldn't even thought twice about it. Things you think of after the fact. The other thing I always like to share about are the people that I meet at concerts. Because you can go to shows and meet a lot of really fun people. And in this case, I was wearing my Beach Boys sweatshirt here with the Wild Honey European Tour on the back. There we go. Bought this online. It's my favorite jacket to wear. And as I was leaving, there was this man who had a couple very young children, and the one little boy must have been just learning to read because the dad said, "Hey, can you read what's on the back of this jacket for me?" And he pointed to the back of my Wild Honey sweatshirt, and the little boy read it out loud. He was very proud of himself, and I told him, "Hey, my hat matches too." And the dad was like, "Yeah, this is going to be his first Beach Boys concert. It's going to be really fun. He's going to get to see him for the first time." And I said, "Well, that's okay. They might reschedule it, maybe next time," that sort of thing. And the little boy said, "Yeah." He said, "I think they're going to reschedule it for June the 1st. So that little boy had his way. That makeup show would have been today. But they didn't follow the little boy's instructions. They held it off to the 15th. That's okay. And then also, a couple, kind of a middle-aged couple, noticed my sweatshirt as well. And the husband of the couple thought this was Alaska. His wife was like, "That's Europe, come on." But anyway, I got to talking to them, and I joked that I indeed had to buy this blue t-shirt with the tour dates on it. So at least I have an interesting story to tell about the time I went to see the Beach Boys, got there, got seated, got situated, and then it got rained out. So what can you do, right? Anyway, I guess I'll let you know if I'm going to go to that makeup date or not. I'll shoot you another picture here in just a moment of the venue when the wind started picking up and things started flailing around. It was funny, on the drive home I passed a giant billboard for the concert, which I felt like it was mocking me. But a disappointment in several ways, but that's what happens sometimes. If you've ever had a concert or big event that didn't pan out the way it was supposed to, please comment it below. Get some humorous stories floating around here. Next week we're back to Laurel and Hardy for a little bit, but don't despair, we've got more Beach Boys stuff, and we have Gary Lewis coming up as well. Wish I had a better video for you today, but this is what I got. Maybe it's time for a vacation, Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take ya. Never mind. I'll see you next time.